Hello everyone, welcome to Salesforce Helping Hand channel. My name is Al Prajapati, and today we are going to discuss PwC interview question and answer. So, as recently my couple of students face interview in PwC, so as per their feedback, I got some question from them. So definitely, I'm going to share with you with the answers. Okay, so let's start with the very first question. They asked one of my student, which is let's say if we have a in system without sharing by default, then what is the need to add the keyword in Apex class? So do you understand, like we have a with sharing or without sharing? So they want to ask like without sharing is by default. If you are adding that keyword in class or not, but that is by default, then what is the need? So the answer for this question is, guys, so we have the code reliability, and we have the what it's called explicit control on the code. And the third one is very important, which is inheriting behavior. So what happen, guys, like when you have the if you have a class extended by another class without sharing, will still be respected, even if the parent or child has the different sharing setting. And so this guarantee that sharing rule are ignored when indeed. So that will be coming to the picture. I mean, that is very useful when you having the inheritance mechanism in your code, right? So now the next questions, they asked to write a trigger on order product. It should display the most number of sold product type on the account. Okay, whatever the most product type sold, it should show on the account. Example, if the most order product sold out of TV, AC, and fridge is TV, then update TV as the most sold product on the account page to that particular client. Okay, so this is very simple. We need to write a one trigger name, and the object is our order item, and it will be on after insert and after update, definitely, because we are going to update the related object guys here. Okay, so what we did, we just did take map here, right? Under the map, we have another map like string and integer. So we just initialize this map, account product count map. So here we just will be counting the product, okay, in this map. Now, through the trigger.new, we are getting the order items, and these order items, we are checking if account ID is does not equal to null, because on order level, sorry, on order items, there is one, what it's called, yeah, on order we have the account lookup field. So there will we can check if account ID does not equals to null, then what we need to do, we need to check this contain the key. So that is same, guys, and then we are filling this map, and under this map what we are doing, we are passing the account ID, and we are passing the this particular map. Then what we are doing, we having this map, guys, okay, string and integer. This is product count map, and we are just getting the count. Okay, to pass this ID, we are getting the count, and we have a product type here. We saw through the order items, we are going to the product two, and on the product two we have a product code, okay, which is the product type. I mean, this is the API name, guys. Okay. So we are checking here like this product count map contain the product type. Then what needs to be do? Well, we just need to put the map inside this. Okay. And if does not equals to this, then else we are just filling the product type and the order of quantity. So this is the like we have here. And here we have the, we need to update the account list. So we just having one list of account, and we are just iterating each and every account here, because we are able to get the IDs of all the accounts from the map which we earlier filled, right? And we taken some variable, most sold product is less equal to null, maximum count we initialize is 0. And here again we comes to the product.map key set, and we are just having this product type, and we are counting now. So through the product type we are counting. If count is greater than max count, then equals to this, otherwise we just need to fill in this most sold product to the product type. Okay, now the next thing is we are initializing the account, and just to getting the update, so we just adding that to the list, and at the end we are updating that list, guys. So this is the way we can answer this kind of questions. So a very important thing is, while you are writing a trigger, I'm not saying you are 100% writing a correct logic, but the way you are trying to write your approach should be correct, right? So let's say they given you one trigger. So first of all, you have to understand what kind of requirement is it, right? And what kind of events we needs to write on this. And apart from it, you also very careful what actually logic it's required. So try to write that logic, because you don't have much time, guys. So you have to be very expert in that. You can be some practice, some dummy questions you can take and try to practice on that. So that's what you will be get a good experience. Okay. Now the next question is, what is connected app, remote site setting, and auth? So they ask these three questions in a single go. You can go in the depth, guys. I'm just giving you one, overview. So a connected app is nothing but a Salesforce framework, right? That allow external application to connect, to communicate with Salesforce. Okay. Via VPIs protocols such as authentication, SML, etc. It act a bridge between Salesforce and external service to secure access Salesforce data to functionality. Okay. Now the next question is a remote site setting. What is a remote site setting? Remote site setting is nothing but it's a Salesforce secure measures that define which external website or service your Salesforce or can communicate with API or web service. So third one is it act as a whitelist for external domains so that your Salesforce org is permitted to call them, right? So they have given you one endpoint URL, and your remote site setting, you are just keeping your this endpoint URL, and there you can call them. So that is the way, one of the way. Now the next thing is auth, open authorization. Auth means open authorization is an open standard protocol used for secure authorization. It allow external application for service to access a user Salesforce data without exposing their credential, username and password, right? So you don't need to expose your credential, right? So OAuth is a widely used for implementing a single sign-on SSO and API integration. Okay. So guys, there are some key concepts like this. You can just go through again. I'm telling. So these all answers I'm giving you in short, but I'm very sure like you just be getting a time. So going through with it in details, right? So describe how would you automate the process of creating a follow-up task when a case is created or case is closed. So what actually business requirement is, let's say you have the case management system, and whenever case is getting closed, you need to create the follow-up task. Okay. So as you know, process build and workflow out of use right now. So Salesforce no longer using that. So we only have the one option which is called the flow, right? So using the flow, what you can do, you can write a one flow and automate this process. So answer is very clear. Again, the next question is, what is the difference between after and before event in Salesforce trigger, guys? So this is a very, very basic questions, but sometimes we will not able to recall the basic actually, right? We just, I'm very sure because I taken so many interviews here, right? So many couple of candidates I asked this question, but they are not answered this question, right? So the question is, as I already told you, what is the difference between before and after trigger? So let's understand one by one. So before trigger is like it's very simple, like it's saved to the database before record to the save, right? And execute after the record is saved to the database. So after and before, its name is saying, guys. Okay. Now the next thing is can modify the values of the record that is being saved. Trigger.new. Okay. Cannot modify the record in the trigger.new. No, only read for the follow-up actions. Okay. Commonly used for validation, field update, and default value assignment. So it is for the same objects. Commonly used to create update related records, guys. So that is very important. And send notification or login information. No record ID available in trigger.new since the record is not yet saved, right? So as they earlier said, execute before the record is saved into database. So that's what they are saying, no record ID, because record ID is only available, as you know, Salesforce provide you the unique ID to each and every record, right? Whenever a record is committed to the database, so they provide you once basically unique ID. So when they provide, when the data is getting saved into the system, but here if you see the data is not saved because we have the before trigger. But if come to the after trigger, so that is definitely you will get here because that is something data is getting saved, then you are doing your actions. Again, so these are some examples, what you can do, what you cannot do. Now the next question is, sorry guys, what is see all data true in Salesforce? So as you know, this keyword is used in the test classes. Okay, so it basically allow test class to access read real data from the org, but it is not recommended because it can make test less predictable, and harder to maintain. It is best practice to create mock data within the test classes to ensure tests are isolated and independent. What are governor limits in Salesforce and why are they important? Define any five. So you can make sure you are defining any five. They'll ask you. So basically, they want to understand whenever you are writing a code. So what kind of things you need to keep in your mind? They are not asking like just give the definition for it. So they want to understand whenever you're writing a code. So what things you will keep in your mind, right? Because governor limit definitely that should be in your mind. Otherwise there will be system failure or your feature failure, guys. Okay, so governor limit in Salesforce are the restrictions imposed by Salesforce to ensure no single tenant can monopolize share the resource in multi-tenant environment. For Salesforce, these limits ensure that code and process are optimized and efficient, preventing one any process that assuming resource which could degrade performance for other user or process running in the system that will be impactful. Okay, now the next question is how do you handle large data volume in Salesforce? That is very challenging if you have the senior Salesforce developer role or let's say data architecture role. So and in MNC companies, especially in PwC and KPMG, they basically wants to understand what kind of work you have done in previous project. It's not just someone given you okay this code you can write, you can deploy. No, actually they want to be a mind who can solve their problem, who can understand the client requirement and make it a proper and good solution, right? So that's what they ask these kind of questions, right? So next question is what are the apex transaction? And guys, this is very important question nowadays because each and every company is using standard kind of apex coding. They are not just writing a simple apex trigger apex class. No, that's days gone are the days. And now if you want to keep your candidature more strong, so just go through with these all concepts. These are the very basic concept, but try to implement in some basic code you can write and try to implement that. Okay, so that will be make more sense for you to understand these kind of questions. Okay, so apex transaction are powerful mechanism in Salesforce ensure data integrity, that ability to use save point and rollback. Okay, allow for fine grained control of transactions flow, letting developers handle error gracefully and maintain consistent state within the database. So let's say some error is come in your system and you are not able to recall the problem. So at that time, you will be get the good approaches to show the errors or to handle the exceptions kind of thing. So there are multiple things including this apex transaction. There is rollback, right? There is two things in the rollback mechanism, which save point and rollback. So these all things you can go through. I'm not going too much in details, otherwise it will take a lot of time, guys. So I'm just having some time so you can just understand it. Okay, so try to understand thing like what it's do and what kind of things, and definitely should go to the develop Salesforce developer documentation. So go through there. If you still not able to understand, I'm going to record one video on this concept. Okay, no worries at all. How do you implement trigger framework and what are the benefit? So guys, trigger framework, there are two types of trigger framework. One is the interface based, another one is a abstract class based. So it's your choice which one you want to implement. But again, both are, I mean, trigger framework both have the, I mean, kind of same things. But again, it's business to business and architect to architect vary how they are going to build the solution for the business. But definitely both are good approach. You can just having and go through it. Okay. Now the next question is, guys, for you, what are the difference between queuable feature and batch apex? As you know, these all three are from the asynchronous apex, right? Whenever asynchronous come into the picture, so these three concepts come in our mind. So the first concept is for feature method. So they are asking execution context. So it will be separate transaction, and for queuable, it's also separate transaction, and for batch, it's also separate transaction. So then they are asking what is the return type for your Apex class. For the feature method, there is void. For the queuable class, there is job ID. And for the batch Apex, there is a transaction job progress. Third one is parameter flexibility. Only primitive types you can pass in the feature method. But queuable, you can support complex type as well. Okay, support complex type. So both are the support the comps. Chaining is not supportive in feature method, but in terms of queuable, yes. And batch apex, there is also no. I think you can directly, that is not there, but yes, using the finish method, you can make it possible. Okay, so might be that is possible. Not might be, actually that is a kind of jugaad in Hindi if you say. So job limit is 50 call per transaction and 50 queued jobs in a single transaction and 5 active job at a time. Chunk size not applicable in feature method. Chunk size is not applicable in the queuable, but chunk size applicable for patch apex, which is 2000 record you can do. Use case, what is the use case for the feature method? The use case for feature method is small asynchronous tasks, kind of complex smaller jobs and large data processing. So definitely, when you have the kind of requirement, you have to process large amount of data. Definitely patch apex come into the picture in that scenario, guys. Okay. So now, how do you implement pagination in LWC query? So guys, this question is for you. If you are not able to do, you will get the link in description. I'm going to record one more video on this. Okay. So what is a platform event nowadays? This question is we ask in, TCS, PwC, Deloitte, and Infosys. So many companies, they are asked this question, guys. So make sure, please clear with your concept. If I'm giving you the answer here, that is not sufficient, because they may ask you some cross question and they'll ask you what basically you try to implement. So no worries at all. Just go and watch some videos on the platform event and try to one small kind of implementation. Not you have to be big and all. So try to implement something which clear your concept. Okay, so there is in Salesforce as a part of event driven architecture that allow for exchange of real-time information between Salesforce and external system. They are designed to facilitate the communicate between different part of a system across a different system in a scalable way. Sorry, scalable way. Here is a detailed overview for the platform event can be used. Defining a platform event in Salesforce, go to setup. These you can do, and you have to publish the event, then subscribe the event. Okay, what are the limitation of database dot rollback in Apex? The limited is scope, cannot roll back after a commit, single transaction context, and Apex schedule. Okay, so these are the all limitation for this database dot rollback in Apex class, guys. Now the next question is, you have a requirement to update the 10,000 records in after insert trigger, but you are hitting the governor limit. How would you handle this situation? By leveraging the asynchronous process method like queuable or batch apex, you can efficiently handle the update of large number of record without hitting a governor limit. As you know, in asynchronous apex, the batch size and governor limit are increasing. So definitely we should follow the best practice there as well. But that will be not like sure like we'll be getting the error. But yes, in asynchronous apex, we'll not get that error definitely. Now the next question is, you need to update a related contact whenever account is updated, but this causing a recursive trigger problem. How would you recursion in your trigger? So guys, that is very basic things. You can create a static variable, check the variable and set the variable. So this is one of the way. Another way, like you can create one set, and every time whenever record is getting processed, you can add that ID to that particular set and check like this ID is getting processed or not. So this is the way. The second way is most useful, but here I just giving the static variable approach. So we have this boolean variable. So again, I'm saying this is not much uses nowadays. We are using the set. Okay, so you have one unique set, and whenever record is getting processed, you can add that ID in the unique ID, and you can just check that set. Okay, while again you are going to process the same record ID, so it will not allow the system to process the same record ID, because it will say this ID is already processed. Okay, now you need to send an email alert when the stage of opportunities change from value close one. Okay, any value to close one. So if opportunity is getting close one, you need to send an email alert. How would you implement this in Apex class? So as you know, in Apex class, we have a dedicated methods and class for the emails, sending an email. So that's what you can use here. Okay. Let's say you need to process 1200 records using the trigger on account object. How many times trigger will execute? So guys, this is very important question, because as you many students don't know like what is the default size for the trigger. So default size for trigger is 200. And if you see, so it will be execute 6 times because 1200 divided by 1200 divided by 200, so it will be 6 times, guys. Answer will be 6 times. Next question is, you have a parent object and two child one, child two. So you need to roll up fields both child and parent. How would you implement this? So some these questions are for you. I want to the answer from you in the description, guys. Okay, try to answer this question. If not, I'll give you the answer in the next videos. Okay. So how do you create a dispatch and event? This is again very important. So PwC interviews always, guys, much side to the implementation practical, not on the we can say much side like to the theoretical part. No, they ask you the logical question. They'll ask you the some kind of apex class question. So definitely they'll ask the implementation. They'll not ask you any theoretical question, guys. Okay. So how would you schedule a batch? So for you, they have to write a one schedule class, so implement the schedule, and then you have this method here, global void execute, and then you have this cron expression. So in the cron expression you can define like how 2 a.m. daily I want to execute, so something like this you can do this. Okay, you have an account update trigger that call a feature method to update the related records. However, you are facing issue when multiple feature method call are being made. How would you optimize the design? Prefer queuable Apex over feature method. Batch Apex can be help manage larger set of without hitting down a limit. Implement recursive call prevention with static variable. Aggressive update when possible to minimize the processing. Use platform event asynchronous handling the changes. And by applying these strategies, you can optimize your design, effectively manage multiple feature methods call and one related record update without encountering kernel limits, guys. Okay. Now the next question is, you are running into CPU limit exceed error during a large data processing case record. How can you mitigate this? So CPU time limit exceed error during the batch processing error, carefully analysis and optimization of your code processing a logic by breaking down complex logic using efficient SQL queries, reducing the loop complexity, leveraging queuable apex and monitoring resource uses, and you can improve the performance of your batch process and avoid the CPU limit exceed error. So what are the some best practice optimize the performance LWC components? So limit the DOM elements, use the lighting based component, lazy loading should be there, use track and reactive properties, optimize the wire adapters, debounce the input handlers, batch API calls, optimize CSS and style, reduce event listener, avoid line style and large images, use the async wait and promise, monitor performance with Chrome DevTools, avoid large dataset in UI, use the lightning data table component. So guys, these all are the questions, right? So some of the questions you need to answer, please. And I'm waiting for you guys. Okay. Stay tuned to the Salesforce helping channel. Again, thank you.